Hi, welcome back to Batticaloa Model Railway. I'm Darshan. On this video, we will see the improvements that I have done on the layout to smoothen the runs of my train, and a new section that I have added for an industrial section, airbrushing and ballasting of this new section over here, and also I will show you the method that I have used to do your own ballast. So without further ado, we will dive straight into the video. In this section you can see that the bench work is quite a rectangle, so it doesn't give a good look when the trains run. It feels like it is running on a bench, if you know what I mean. To break that, I have put this additional plywood so I can build a scenic section where a yard or and I haven't decided anything, but it's going to be some industrial area or something like that. So in here, if you can see now earlier what we had was there was a point here to bring the trains into this section where I have the BP and stuff like that. So what happened was, sometimes when the trains derail, it's a bit difficult because it's underneath this board that is. So I thought I will remove the point from there, and then to have the point here, which is actually bigger radius point, which will have a smoother bend, and then it will prevent locos derailing once they try to go into the other section. And also what I have done is I have put another additional point here which will actually bring trains into this section where it will be an end point. So this section is going to be done up with the industrial area, so that will look nice, and then it will actually give a feeling that a train is running through an industrial area. Once I finish doing this section, I will probably fix this plywood and then see what I can do with the station area, because without this extra piece of plywood, it was I didn't really have enough space to do anything. So I am thinking of putting a level crossing somewhere around here, so that will make sense, but space is a bit restrictive, so I'm not sure whether that will work. So let's see. The other change that I have done for my layout is here, as you can see in this photo, where the track was a bit too sharp, the bend, so I wanted to make it a bit smoother. The HO scale loco was derailing, and I thought might as well get rid of that problem altogether. So what I have done here is I have used this slightly the curved point instead of the straight point, and then trying to put a curve which was creating the problem. So with this curved point, now it is this problem has been solved. I have used the flex track to join from this point onwards to where it had a connection over there. So what I found very useful was to have these track setters. You put them in, and then rather than using the screws, I rarely use screws. So the best thing is to put these track setters, and then put the gum on the tracks, and then try to put some weight, and then it will let it dry. So that way it will actually keep the keep the bend quite smooth. So that's what I've done. And you can, if you don't have these track setters, you can always get them cut using laser cutters. This is one that I have actually made for my Helix. It was mentioned on the other Helix video as well. This is quite an easy thing to. I didn't know that it was quite simple, but with the laser cutting equipment, you can just give the radius, and there's a width for this, and once you have that measurements, then you can get any size done. So once you have these things, it is much easier to smoothen these curves and get a perfect finish. So that has worked quite well. And the other thing that I've done is I have left this old track here just to see, probably I can make some scenery bit and just to show that there's an old track over there, which makes sense, I guess. Then also what I have done is I have used a different type of ballast just to show that this section has been done at a later stage, which is actually looking quite good, and I always wanted to try this out, and thought this is probably the best time to do it. I'm just trying to replace this point over here, which is actually an S-type bend, which is actually giving some problems because the double O gauge trains run without any issues, but the HO scale locomotives try to, it has a difficult time going over it, and sometimes it derails, sometimes it's okay. So I'm just trying to replace this with a longer point. So once we put this point just where so I'm not going to move the point motor, so I'm going to leave it there to make things life easier for me. And once this comes here, since it is a lesser curve, so I should be able to put this and then another flex track and join it with this, which will actually improve the running, I think, because this is actually a main route that I use all the time. So I don't want any derailments on this line. So as you can see, now I have finished replacing this point with this long point. I think it's around 22 centimeters, I guess. Then it gives a nice smooth bend over here. So I think that has gone quite well. So I have soldered the wires, and also, as you can see here, I have taken the blue wire underneath. You can see it's because I have cut the road bed and then passed the wire through there, so I didn't want to take it down because of the other track that comes on the below level. So I think that's quite a good improvement. Only thing that I would have done is probably cut the tracks a bit longer and then try to grind it to the right size, because I think it went slightly, the gap was slightly a bit bigger than I wanted it to be. I've soldered it across, so now the gap is minimized, so hopefully that will be okay. And the other point, the other issue with these points is sometimes there's a small short when trains pass through, because since it's not an electro frog, isolated frog, sometimes the wheels touch the other section, both section at the same time. So, and I have an LCE short circuit detector which actually stops the train on its path once the short is detected. So if that happens, what I do is I end up putting a bit of super glue on top where the joint is, so that will actually prevent the tires touching both at the same time. So I think I might have to do this, because I had that issue with all the other frogs of the similar points. My idea is to probably have the super capacitors fixed into smaller locos, so that like the shunters, so that even if there's a small interruption in supply, it will just pass through these points, because it shouldn't be a problem, because I have the other points here which works okay. The shunters might stop, but at the moment it's not a big issue. If you're wondering what these green cards used, this is some leftover from some probably track labels that I had, but I've used it here to just to bridge that gap. I think the plywood has warped a bit, so I'm just putting those cards just to make the level correct. So nothing serious about those things. So then I have glued these tracks. So these batteries are for weights, so once I put them on top for the glue to set. As you can see now, I have set up my airbrush, so I will mix the paint. And handy thing to have, it's quite small, and it gets the job done. And this sponge is there, so it doesn't when it vibrates, it doesn't go and fall off the edge of the table. So everything is set up, so I need to just mix the paint. And once the paint is mixed, I will put it into the airbrush and start painting. So the paint that I'm using is Van Dyke Brown. There's a number of 690. I don't know what that means, but it seems to be good color. But if it's too dark, then I can make it slightly lighter. So let's see how it goes. There are quite a few videos that you can have a look on how this paint has to be, the consistency. So So once you are painted, just make sure that you wipe the track clean with the wet cloth. This is an acrylic paint, so it comes off very easily. I haven't used oil paint, so this stuff comes off very easily and it's very easy to clean. So make sure that you clean it, otherwise it might get a bit difficult to clean once it dries up. So just make sure that you cover the blade where it joins the stock rail. So once the airbrush painting is done, it's time to ballast. So this is actually the original ballast I bought from eBay when I was in England. So that's almost gone. So then this is the homemade stuff that I use. So this is quarry dust sifted to the right size based on what I have here, and then I have all my ballasting stuff in here, so it's much easier, and I have small containers that will hold some of the leftovers so that can be used in the next project. So for the time being I will not use this. For this section I will use the homemade one. Right, so let's see how it goes. This is the raw material that I am using for my ballast. As you can see, it's slightly bigger than the quarry dust. If you can get hold of quarry dust, that is also quite good. This was just lying around in my property. So then what I did was, I got the material and I used a strainer, which you can see on that chair, with a blue rim. So that strainer had the right size that I need for the ballast, so I used that strainer to get the right size. Then once that is done, then I used a small fan, which you can see in the picture, and you switch on the fan and then you drop the material that you have actually collected from a height. So by doing this, the fan will actually start blowing the dust and very small particles. Then the right size ones are getting collected in that white container, and in front I have another container which is also collecting slightly smaller particles. This way the white container has the right ballast that I need, right size of ballast that I need, and then the front one is also collected and put in two different storage bottles. Then I used for the one that I use for the ballast is the one that's collected in the white container, and for anywhere that I need to cover up and do a bit of touch up, I use the one that I have collected in the front container. This is quite an easy thing to do, and as long as you can get hold of this, which is very very easy, you can find them in any construction site, or if you go to a place where they break these granites into smaller pieces. And I have found it very useful, and it has worked out quite well for me. Hope you will be able to follow these simple methods to get your ballast done for yourself as well. So I have put a small hole there, so that it's easier to drop them out, and I have one of these things. It's quite easy when you have this one to just pour it in and then slide it along, and then just make sure that the points, you don't get anything in where it moves, and then that's about it actually. So let's start. With a spoon or a wooden spoon or something similar, you just give a tap on top of the, just tap the tracks gently so that any ballasts that are on top of the rails will fall. Once the ballasting is over and you're satisfied with it, just make sure that the tracks are all clean by running a compartments. So once you're happy with that, then I normally use a PA alcohol just to spray on top. Then I use the PVA glue mix just to go over. Then you just have to, this is probably around, I won't say it's 50-50, maybe it's less than 50-50, so, and you just pour it equally. That actually has a little bit of I think it's just a detergent, not sure which one I used, but you use that so that it breaks the surface tension and gives a smooth run. Okay, once you're happy with applying the glue. Then the trick is to just leave it alone. Even if you find anything that where you have missed, don't worry. Best thing is not to monkey with it now, because once you put your finger, everything starts rolling up, and then you will get into a mess. So I've done it before. I have heard them warning me before, and I have done it, and I have learned my lesson. So I'll just leave it as it is and let it dry. And tomorrow we can come and vacuum it, and then once that is been done, then you will see certain gaps. Then of course you can go and fill them in. And this area, of course, we'll see what I can do. Probably some green stuff in there will make it a bit natural. That's we'll decide once we have done completed the ballasting and we are happy with that. So that's about it. Then I have another section to finish, and once I finish that, then I will finish for the day and leave it dry overnight. Believe it or not, this is the third day, so you can see it's quite neat, and if I can show you, it's quite hard as well now, fully dried. I did come and do some patch up where I have missed certain areas. That's all fine. And this morning I cut the plywood section here so that I can make a tunnel, because this piece of plywood was coming up to here, and it was not very easy to do a tunnel, because otherwise I will end up covering both the tracks, and it will be a problem if there is a derailment here. Then to fix it will be a bit awkward. So I have cut it over here. This section has been taken out, so I can make a tunnel entrance here, something like that, and then you can actually make a wall on this side. Also make sure that the points are moving correctly. So okay, that seems to be fine. So that's all the checks you need to do, and then you can just run a loco and a train to see whether everything is fine. Then I think the homemade ballast is quite a good option. So I have covered the steps that I have done in getting this ballast, so hopefully that will be helpful to anyone who's going to try them. In this section you can see the homemade ballast, the slightly darker one, and this is the lighter one, is actually the ballast that I bought ready-made. So you can compare both, and it's quite similar apart from the color. The size and the grade are the same, and it gives a very good look, because normally the ballast doesn't have to be the same all over your layout. So this gives that really nice finish. And the way I've done this is these are the two main lines. So the main lines are of I have used the ballast that I bought, and the one that runs right up there, I have used that same ballast, the one that I bought, but all the other lines I have been using the ballast that I made from local material, because for the tracks that I have, I don't think I would have been able to cover everything, because only a small bit is left now. But since I had this, I really prefer using this for most of my tracks, and I think it has worked out quite well. I hope that has added some value for your knowledge, and hopefully you will be able to get this stuff and get some ballast very neatly done to your layout as well. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it and it has added some value and knowledge to your model railroading skills. I would especially like to thank my daughter Mithulia for letting me use her newly composed music on my time-lapse sections. And as you know, these videos take an awful lot of time to create and edit and get the final product done. So if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and I would really appreciate if you can subscribe to my channel. It gives me a boost to keep on creating these videos. So until we meet on our next video, thank you for watching. Bye.